This hearing will come to order. Good morning and welcome to the Budget Committee's Member Day hearing. I want to thank the ranking member for coming. Clear sign of the tremendous support for reforming the budget process, which I know we share is an integral part of restoring fiscal responsibility here in the nation's capital. And today, the purpose of this hearing is to hear testimony from our colleagues on their budget priorities and ideas for reform. And I yield myself such time as I may consume for an opening statement. Good morning and thank you to everyone for being here. This is something, it's a tradition that we've been doing for a long time. Big believer in it, especially in the context of what we're highlighting here today. Of course, none of us has all the answers, but each of us brings a different perspective about the nature of the problems that we face. There's one fundamental issue that I think continues to hold Congress back, and that is we simply do not have a healthy, functioning budget process. And the reality is we haven't had one in a long time. It's crazy, but dating back to the late 1990s, we've averaged more than 5 continuing resolutions every single fiscal year. And of course, we're operating under one right now. No serious enterprise could operate this way and expect good outcomes. But for DC, fiscal apathy has become routine, and I think the results speak for themselves. During the recent shutdown, our national debt surpassed $38 trillion. This year, think about it, we're taking in $5 trillion, spending $7 trillion. We're spending $1 trillion a year on interest alone, which is, of course, more than our entire national defense budget. Ray Dalio has warned that we're inviting a debt-induced heart attack, his words. Instead of treating the disease, we keep arguing about the symptoms. Partisan fights over 20% of the budget, while the other 80% are mandatory spending runs on autopilot. A process built for another area just cannot carry the weight of today's fiscal challenges. Just think about how, as we discussed at our last hearing, in more than 50 years, the CBO, Congressional Budget Office, has never undergone a single external operational audit, not one. How can we produce better outcomes if CBO has never been independently evaluated for accuracy, transparency, or performance? There are numerous common sense reforms like this on the table that I think can breathe new life into the process, can shake off the cobwebs and lift the bias back toward action. Last Congress, our committee, the Budget Committee, came together to pass 14 bipartisan reform bills. And we can do a lot more. We need better, more modern rules of the road. We need clear, measurable targets to guide us, which brings me to another idea that's gaining traction. We know that right now deficits are averaging around 6% of GDP. At that level, the debt grows faster than the economy, interest costs accelerate, and we risk drifting toward a sovereign debt crisis. Bringing deficits down to about 3% of GDP, cutting that in half, which is a target endorsed by both Ray Dalio and also by Secretary Bessent has talked about this. That would stabilize the debt and begin to restore credibility. Mandatory spending driven by Social Security and federal health programs, interest on our debt, now accounts for about 90% of all future spending growth. In the recent reconciliation bill, we began to move the needle, delivering historic mandatory spending reductions. Social Security and Medicare now face insolvency in 2032 and 2033, respectively. But no long-term fiscal plan is credible if it ignores the healthcare system. In my view, this conversation must happen on 2 tracks. First, making Americans genuine consumers of healthcare, able to shop, compare, push the system toward value, and second, tackling the practices that inflate every medical bill. Excessive hospital markups, opaque middlemen, and patent games that keep drug prices artificially high. In time, the broader challenges should be taken up by a fiscal commission. And of course, we've passed the bill out of committee. We've expressed support, I've expressed support for modeling one after the successful Greenspan Commission to confront these issues plainly and without regard for the politics of the moment. This is another area where I welcome the input and ideas of members we'll be hearing from today. Because ultimately, we can't reverse the curse of public debt without exercising the political will to make the tough decisions we all talk about. And while we can't manufacture political will in a hearing room, we can create better conditions for it, certainly better than the tough conditions we have now. So today, and in the months to come, I'm hoping to appeal to the better fiscal angels of our nature. There's still a part of this institution and a part of each of us that understands the responsibility that we all carry. We didn't come here to preside over decline. We came here to leave the country stronger than we found it. And if we can summon those better fiscal angels, discipline, transparency, stewardship, we can begin to make choices that protect the next generation. That is the mission of this committee, and it's the urgency of this moment. So I look forward to hearing from members, look forward to our discussion today. With that, I'm pleased to yield 5 minutes to the ranking member from Pennsylvania, Mr. Boyle, for his opening statement.
Thank you to my fellow Pennsylvanian, and happy to speak to this standing room only crowd for the beginning of the Smucker era. So I appreciate sitting next to you and perhaps foreshadowing of some things to come. But as far as today, I mean, I just want to briefly address both on policy and on process, since I know today is more about the latter. But first, on the former, we are facing a healthcare crisis in the United States. Things were already too unaffordable in the United States in so many areas, including and especially healthcare. And then a bill was passed this summer to make the situation far worse. The president used to call it the One Big Beautiful Bill, but now it is so deeply unpopular, he never even brings it up. The reason, of course, why it's so deeply unpopular is, according to CBO, as well as other independent estimates, this bill will cause approximately 15 million Americans to lose their health care, and premiums for tens of millions more will rise. The beginning of those cuts to take effect is January 1. Specifically on the Obamacare or ACA exchanges. The average, and this is just the average expected increase in our home Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, is 102% on our state's exchange. I've seen other states where it's even higher. So we only have a few more weeks to go in order to solve this crisis and help the American people with their looming increases in healthcare premiums. I believe that is what we should be doing on. That should be project number one this week and for the next few weeks before we hit that January 1 deadline when it will be too late. There does seem to be some bipartisan momentum. Some House Republican colleagues have talked publicly about wanting to support something to basically alleviate the problems that were created by the big, beautiful bill for billionaires. Now, we will, I think, continue over the next few weeks and months and even years to discuss and debate difference of opinion when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to affordability, when it comes to a whole range of issues. But the second half of the time I have, let me switch over to process, since I know that is more the stated reason for our hearing today. I believe that there can be common ground here, sincerely. I've had these conversations, I know, with our acting chair. I've had conversations with Chairman Arrington. I believe that any long-lasting budget process reform will have to be bipartisan. We know that if it's partisan, the very next election, and there's a trifecta on the other side, it will be done away with. I am hopeful that perhaps, hypothetically speaking, if there were a Democratic House and a Republican president, that there would be, in fact, the appetite for some long-lasting reform. Because it is a fact that 51 years after the Budget and Impoundment Control Act of 1974, the process has broken down more often than it has succeeded over the last 51 years. If you look at it, really the history from 74 on, the first half of that, roughly, the system worked as it was designed. But ever since the late 90s or so, it truly has not. So I believe that looking at certain things like two-year budgeting, looking at other reforms that previous commissions have explored but failed to adopt, I also think that this is an opportunity to address the, in my view, intolerable situation in which you have millions of workers who don't get paid during a government shutdown. We didn't even used to have government shutdowns until the last 50 years. I think it's also an opportunity to finally reform the debt ceiling process, a complete anachronism who, let's just say, if its stated goal was ever to bring down debt, it has failed miserably. So I look forward to hearing the ideas from our colleagues, and let's, after today, attempt to work on a bipartisan basis where we can on budget process reform, but let's also not forget the current crisis facing the American people with respect to affordability and especially health care. With that, I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Boyle. And just in reaction to a few of the comments, I think you're exactly right. I agree with the ranking member that the changes that are required, that we must do, will need to be done on a bipartisan basis. And the sooner we do them, the better. So I think you've set the standard along with the chair of the Budget Committee on how the committee can work together on some issues, which I think has been outstanding. And I think that sets a good foundation for the committee to continue to work and really address some of the issues that you've raised. So I look forward to the committee continuing to do that. I'll say in the interest of time, if any member has an opening statement, we ask that you submit it for the record. And we'll hold the record open at the end of the day to accommodate those members who may not yet have prepared their statements in writing. So I would like to now welcome our colleagues to the Budget Committee, thank them for taking the time to share their ideas and recommendations with us on their budget priorities and how to reform the budget process. As a reminder, members will each have 3 minutes to give their oral testimony, and their written statements, as I said, will be submitted for the record. So now I'd like to recognize Representative Jim Baird, the gentleman from Indiana. Mr. Baird is a lifelong resident of West Central Indiana and proudly represents Indiana's 4th Congressional District. He's a member of the House Ag Committee, Foreign Affairs, and Science, Space, and Technology Committees, and we're really pleased to have you here with us, and we'll give you 3 minutes. You may proceed.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee for hosting this member hearing and for the opportunity to outline my priorities related to strengthening the budget process. I want to highlight an example where our budget process fell short. Section 781 of the recent continuing resolution and appropriations bills, specifically the provision redefining hemp, regardless of how many member feels about the underlying policy, the process by which the provision became part of the must-pass appropriations bill reveals several weaknesses, and this is the committee that is uniquely positioned to address this issue. Since the 2018 Farm Bill, American farmers invested significant resources to build a domestic supply chain of hemp. Many use hemp as a rotational crop in diversity income at a time when farm families urgently need stability. And yet Section 781 was added without regular order, without hearings, and without allowing the committee's jurisdiction to evaluate scientific, economic, and regulatory consequences. This is precisely the type of process failure that erodes confidence in our budgeting process. This issue at hand is not whether consumer protections are needed. I firmly believe that we should establish a clear regulatory framework that protects consumers from harm without undermining legitimate and small businesses, penalizing farmers, or effectively outlawing an entire industry. States like Indiana, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Georgia have already enacted responsible age restriction, packaging standards, and testing requirements. Meanwhile, the House Energy and Commerce Committee and the Senate Health Committee have ongoing work examining safety concerns and FDA authority. That's where this debate belongs. By inserting a sweeping policy change into an appropriations vehicle, we bypassed the expert input, we ignored alternative proposals, and denied farmers and stakeholders the opportunity to be heard. And by shutting down the responsible businesses that currently comply with state regulations, we risk empowering the very bad actors who evade safety rules and target minors. This committee has long warned about policy writers and circumvent both transparency and accountability. Section 781 provides a clear example of how significant industry-wide policy decisions can be slipped into a must-pass bills without scrutiny. Going forward, I recommend the committee strengthen the guardrails preventing major statutory changes from being inserted into continuing resolutions or omnibus bills. Secondly, redefine the budget calendar to reduce the reliance on last-minute CRs. And 3, establish enforcement mechanisms ensuring committees of jurisdiction have adequate time and process to evaluate complex regulatory issues before they appear. So I'll just finish with saying that in conclusion, the 2018 Farm Bill definition of hemp is sufficient, and until we can have the opportunity to run this through regular order as suggested above. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baird. I come from a county that has Hempfield, East Hempfield Township, and a long history of hemp. So appreciate your comments in regards to hemp. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Let's go right to the next one. I now recognize Representative Kat Cammack, the gentlewoman from Florida. Ms. Cammack proudly serves Florida's 3rd Congressional District. She's a member of the House Ag Committee, Energy and Commerce Committees, and chairs the Emerging Tech Task Force. Thank you for being here.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I don't see the ranking member, but I am grateful for the opportunity to be here today. Earlier this year, I introduced H.R. 143, the Unauthorized Spending Accountability Act, AKA the USA Act. And yesterday in Oversight Committee, it was marked up and passed. So we're very encouraged that this bill has some great movement. It's important because Congress has a responsibility to know and to expressly authorize where taxpayer dollars are going. And right now, we are not meeting that responsibility. In fact, we haven't met that responsibility in over 30 years. This upcoming fiscal year, Congress is slated to spend $892 billion on unauthorized programs and agencies. Some have never been authorized by Congress, and some haven't been reviewed in 10, 20, even 30 years. This means no oversight, no accountability, and no guarantee that these programs are still working for the American people. And that's, quite frankly, a slap in the face to every single American taxpayer in the country. In total, 1,264 programs and agencies have expired authorizations, but miraculously have appropriations. And to put a fine point on it, 49% of all the authorizations that exist have expired, and many of them have expired over a decade ago. Our bill, the USA Act, H.R. 143, puts a stop to that, and it creates a 3-year step-down process for any program operating without a current authorization. A 10% reduction in year 1, 15% in years 2 and 3, and if Congress can't be bothered to do their job and reauthorize the program or agency with a short 3-year sunset, then the program self-terminates, plain and simple. This isn't about gutting programs, it's about forcing Congress to do its job. With a $38 trillion debt hanging over our kids and grandkids, the days of autopilot spending need to end. So before I wrap up, I want to touch on 2 additional ideas that I think could help get our house in order. First is zero-based budgeting. Right now, the federal government basically starts every year by saying, we spent this much last year, so we're just going to add a little bit more this year. It makes absolutely no sense. Families don't budget that way, companies don't budget that way, so zero-based budgeting means that every agency will start at 0 and has to explain what they actually need. It brings back common sense into the process. And second, we need a clear plan to pay down the debt. We can't keep pretending that $38 trillion that we owe is not a problem. Interest alone is eating up the money that should be going to real priorities. In fact, the interest on our debt, as we all know, has outpaced our spending on defense. To put this in terms that everyone here in the room, but of course watching at home, can understand, every person in the United States today under the age of 18 now owes the government $500,000. My 3-month-old daughter, Augusta, was born with $500,000 of national debt on her shoulders. That is fundamentally unfair, it's disgusting, and we are robbing the futures of our kids and our grandkids. So a structured debt repayment plan, once deficit neutral, goes like this. You peg a percentage of the GDP to mandatory spending, which then goes to the principal on the debt. I am agnostic to what that percentage could be. It could be 0.5%, it could be 5%. But if it is pegged to mandatory spending, then that means we are making a deliberate effort in paying down the national debt. So, for context, if we pegged 3% of the GDP, which would adjust for the cyclical nature of our economy when it contracts or when it expands, we would say 3% of GDP going to principal, assuming nominal economic growth, roughly 4%, but we kept spending flat, I know, would eliminate the national debt in 25 years. 25 years. Now, if we said, we're going to do this with a real scenario because we know Congress spends money like drunken sailors, we say we're going to keep spending as it's going, but we have conservative economic growth, that 3% on autopilot to our national debt would wipe it out in 42 years. At least we would be sending a message that we're serious about paying down our national debt, and it would save us from some of the bigger fights about priorities. The importance of this cannot be overstated, and really, the biggest threat to our national security, being our national debt, has to be addressed before it addresses us. These are not complicated ideas, they're just responsible ones. And alongside the USA Act, they give us a real path towards getting this country back on solid footing. So I thank you all for your time, thank you for your consideration, and with that, Mr. Chair, I yield.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
yes.
would you yield 30 seconds just to say
Sure.
something about our colleagues' good work in this area? And she mentioned a lot of areas. To me, getting our fiscal house in order means passing responsible budgets, not passing on doing a budget like we have done most years, year in and year out. Passing a responsible budget, living by that budget, paying for any increase in expenses, reducing improper payments, lowest hanging fruit. We did it to the tune of over $100 billion a year in the big, beautiful bill. Unprecedented. No one's ever got at the waste, fraud, and abuse like we did. We should be proud of that. But quite frankly, that should be expected. So let's not get too overwhelmed with our big and beautifulness on that. Like, we should be doing that, day in, day out. Unauthorized spending, that's the third piece in my mind. To have half the government being funded without any authorization, without any oversight, is it working? Are they meeting the desired outcomes? I mean, this is like basic constitutional responsibility we have, and for half the government, we are letting the people's treasure go out without nigh a 1 minute worth of scrutiny to know that it's being well stewarded. Thank you, God bless you, for your passion and for your persistence in getting that USA Act, among many other things. You're a budget hawk and a budget warrior at heart. We wish you were on this committee. Thank you for your service.
Appreciate it, thank you. Thank you all.
I'd like to say as well, these are great ideas that you've pushed here, and we certainly look forward to continuing discussions on those. And the good work that you did on the REINS Act, I think, was really outstanding. There's a lot of work that we can do in quite a few areas here, and you've been a real key part of that. So we appreciate you being here. And I'll say as well, since there are not many members here, if anybody else, I would be happy to yield time with any of the witnesses, since there aren't many members here. So.
Excellent. And thank you for your mention of the REINS Act, which would save $2.5 trillion every year. Thank you.
That'd be a good step in the right direction. Thank you. All right, I'd now like to recognize Representative Randy Feenstra, a gentleman from Iowa, and hopefully the next governor of Iowa here. But Mr. Feenstra proudly represents Iowa's 4th Congressional District, is a member of the House Ways and Means Committee, and also of the House Ag Committee. So with that, Mr. Feenstra, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Smucker, and thank you for the opportunity for me to speak to you today on one of my top priorities, ensuring Congress behaves as good stewards of our taxpayer dollars by ensuring transparency when we discuss the future of Social Security. For years, I've raised a major concern with CBO leadership regarding how the CBO's 10-year economic outlook treats Social Security. The Social Security Old Age and Survivor Insurance Trust Fund is projected to be insolvent in roughly 8 years, well within the 10-year window. But the economic outlook continues to present a picture in which full scheduled benefits are paid. This major report, cited by members of both sides, yet it masks a looming fiscal cliff for tens of millions of retirees. As Social Security trustees and CBO's own long-term Social Security reports already show, once insolvency hits, payable benefits drop sharply. This is clearly visible in the charts included in those reports, where scheduled and payable benefits divert dramatically as revenues fall. However, this is nowhere to be found in the CBO's 10-year economic outlook, one of the most widely read and cited publications for public and policy lawmakers. That's why I introduced the Save Our Seniors Act to enact a simple common sense reform. This legislation would require CBO to include a simple graph in the 10-year outlook showing both scheduled and payable Social Security benefits and how insolvency would affect payable benefits. The Economic Policy Innovation Center notes that the CBO's baseline does not actually reflect current law, providing a misleading picture of what would happen when Social Security Trust Fund is depleted in the next decade. And they've called my SOS Act a common sense proposal to require more transparency. Additionally, the bill was named a no-brainer of the year for Congress to advance and pass by the National Taxpayers Union last year. For seniors who rely on Social Security, this is a crucial time. They deserve their earned benefits. They don't need inaccurate projections. Save Our Seniors Act provides a simple chart that provides and communicates the need for action to keep Social Security solvent. I look forward to working with this committee and advance this common sense legislation. Thanks for giving me the time to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Fentress. Certainly, I think individuals need to understand that Social Security will go insolvent in 8 or 9 years, and people will get a percentage of their benefits. So a chart like that, I think, would be a really positive change. So look forward to working with you on this. Any comments, Mr. Chairman? All right. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just say I hope we mark this up, if not this year, early next year, because it's a great idea. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. Okay, now I'd like to recognize Representative Bill Huizenga, the gentleman from Michigan. He's a vice chair of the House Financial Services Committee and a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Mr. Hanger also has done a lot of great work as the Republican co-chair of the Bipartisan Fiscal Forum and has been an outstanding voice in talking about a fiscal commission. You've co-sponsored the bill or introduced the bill regarding the fiscal commission. So you've done a lot of great work. So I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman, and to the chairman as well for your work and leadership on this very important issue. And I appreciate you doing this today to invite members to come to your committee and express to you the importance and the urgency of so many of these issues that we're hearing about. And just as I did when I testified here 2 years ago, I'm urging that the Budget Committee take action on the Fiscal Commission Act. While the legislation is unchanged since it was amended and passed by this committee, which was a significant accomplishment, on a bipartisan vote of 22 to 12, our nation's severe fiscal crisis has only deepened. And I was reminded of that when Representative Kamek was talking about her own 3-month-old daughter being born and saddled with $500,000 in debt because of our national debt. I have 5 kids who are now mostly adults, and I anticipate grandkids at some point or another. And it's tragic what we are doing to those future generations, our kids, our grandkids, and other future generations of this great country. And in fact, national debt has grown by another $4 trillion since this committee passed the Fiscal Commission Act, and is up to now $38.3 trillion. And the interest that we pay on this debt now exceeds the defense budget. and 23% mandatory Social Security cuts are coming. They are being driven by this insolvency and are now more imminent than ever. And again, these are not a Republican or a Democrat saying that this is going to happen. This is by law, and the trust funds, the trustees are indicating when they have to adhere to the law, when this is going to hit. These cuts are projected to come in 2034 after a mandatory cut to Medicare of 11% in 2033. So the status quo guarantees irreparable harm. That should not be acceptable. In my opinion, H.R. 3289, the Fiscal Commission Act, is still the most bipartisan, practical, and immediate path forward, if not the necessary one for Congress to take. Our 38 equally bipartisan co-sponsors and organizations across the political spectrum agree. Having studied the topic with the bill's co-lead that you had mentioned, my bipartisan fiscal forum co-chair, Representative Scott Peters of California, I can assure you that the Fiscal Commission proposal was built on the failures and the successes of past commissions. We did not just invent this whole cloth. We tried to go in and study and learn what worked and what didn't in previous commissions. Our commission proposal features equal representation from both chambers and parties. It's transparent and focused on clear goals. It retains Congress's constitutional duties and has real outcomes and actions. Specifically, this bill forces Congress to vote on a package of proposals developed by this bipartisan, bicameral fiscal commission. The four corners of congressional leadership each appoint 4 members, 16 in total, made up of 3 colleagues from their chamber and 1 non-voting private sector representative from the outside. This commission must craft a package of recommendations that meets clear goals that are detailed in the legislation to both improve the fiscal situation in the medium term and to attain and achieve a sustainable, debt to GDP ratio in the long term. For any recommendations related to federal programs for which a federal trust fund exists, the Commission must improve their solvency for a period of at least 75 years. Additionally, the Commission will be proactively transparent and educational by holding at least 6 public hearings while conducting a public awareness campaign and issuing an interim report. Based on our legislation, the Commission will vote on its final package the week after the 2026 election, or if extended by passage, by April 13 of 2027. A simple majority is required to move the proposal to Congress, provided it includes at least 2 members of each party. And finally, once submitted, Congress is required to vote on the recommendations without amendment and without delay under expedited procedures in both chambers. And in the course of the work, the Commission will have to leave no policy option or opportunity overlooked. As a result, if the Fiscal Commission forces a vote on this vital issue, Congress has been punting for far too long. So let's be clear, it's not going to be an easy vote by any member, both in this committee or on the House floor, or when it comes to a final product. So it's not going to be easy. We know that. But it could create the last best chance that we have to avoid fiscal ruin of our great country. So as I started, let's do this for our kids, our grandkids, and future generations. And I appreciate the opportunity to be with you.
Thank you, Mr. Azenga. And obviously, your leadership in that has been outstanding. You've just described very succinctly the reasons why this is so important. It's something we absolutely must do. You and I agree, and I think every member of the Budget Committee, that this is one of the greatest threats facing the ability for our kids and grandkids and future generations to live the American dream that we've had the opportunity to live. And so we passed it. It was passed under the leadership of Chairman Arrington, of course, out of the Budget Committee in a bipartisan way, as you mentioned. And I think the chairman plans to bring that up again and do that this week. And hopefully we can bring that to the floor and get this passed. It's critical we do that. I'd like to recognize Mr. Moore.
Getting this fiscal commission passed out of committee last Congress was a highlight of last Congress, and not getting it at least through the House was a low light, in my opinion, and I would committed to continuing to work to push that as much as possible. Just a quick point of clarification. This first vote, to vote for the Fiscal Commission Act, you're not voting for anything to change. You're just allowing us to be able to explore options to get after our deficit. Am I correct?
Absolutely, and quite honestly, I think what we are facing here should be recognized by everyone involved, regardless of political attachment. And this is frankly conjuring up the courage to at least explore what the options have to be.
And my point is that doesn't have to be a courageous vote. The tough vote is once the recommendations come back and those go onto the floor for a real House vote. We get that's tough, and that's going to cause a lot of consternation from both sides of the aisle. But this first vote, to be able to just enact the commission, should not be a tough vote. And I just wanted to reemphasize that. There'll be 2 votes on this, to enact it and get the recommendations, and then to ultimately pass it. The first one's not a tough vote and should be far more accepted by my colleagues on the left to be able to at least embrace the concept of, hey, see what this world creates. Thank you so much for leading on this, Bill.
I appreciate that, and I think as we saw, though, during the debate of when this committee passed it, there are some folks who are debt deniers, or at least denying the impact of the debt. And they're willing to delay, and they're willing to punt once again. I just don't think we simply have the time as a nation to do it, because the longer we wait, the harder that final vote will be. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, great point. I'd like to recognize Chairman Arrington.
I'd like to thank Representative Huizenga for his leadership on what may be the most significant play to run in Congress to address what is the single biggest debt driver looking 30 years out. 98% of the $125 trillion in unfunded liability on our books today, that cumulative unfunded liability or deficit spending is coming from 2 programs, Social Security and Medicare. They're critical programs. One will be insolvent, as Vice Chair Smucker mentioned, within 10 years. There aren't just debt deniers, they're insolvency deniers. And I appreciate the leadership and courage of my Democrat colleague, Scott Peters, who in that hearing said, we do nothing. We are consigning our seniors to a 20% cut in benefits. So I'm excited about this opportunity. I believe we made history by just passing it out of committee. That's not good enough. I foresee us building the consensus to make this a reality. I think President Trump's greatest legacy is not going to be fair trade or securing the border, all great, or even unleashing economic prosperity. All of them awesome. Restoring peace through strength, awesome. I think it's going to be saving Social Security and the safety net for seniors of Medicare and the solvency of our nation and children's future. But just like what preceded Reagan and Tip O'Neill's grand bargain on that, the Greenspan Commission, we need this Huizenga Debt Fiscal Commission to precede those decisions and have those kind of discussions prior to it. Have experts like Ray Dalio and other outside folks give credibility, help us sound the alarm, and ultimately cut through the politics and have this expedited to the floor for an up or down vote. That will be a game changer. Thank you, Bill, for your leadership here.
Mr. Chairman,
Do we have to call the Huizenga Commission?
I'm sorry, say
Do
again.
we have to call the Huizenga Commission?
I
Are we stuck on that, or were we good?
I would firmly reject that amendment on that. But if you don't mind me illustrating, I had this point over the Thanksgiving holidays, and I won't name who this was, but I had a conversation with a family member who is recently retired, who is single. She had gotten into a good job towards the end of her working career and has a bit of a nest egg, but is going to be dependent on Social Security. And we got into a conversation about what she, as a 69-year-old, is going to be facing in the next 8 or 9 years. And it's not good. I mean, this is real impact to people that we know. This is about our kids and our grandkids' future, but it's also about people who are currently in the system, who are going to have no fault of their own. The system changed on them, not by anything that we in Congress or the Senate or the White House do, but by simple math and the law of the land, which says that they will be receiving this cut if we do nothing. That, to me, is a secondary tragedy.
Yeah, thank you. We could talk about this for a long time, and I'm sure we will. Thank you, Mr. Huizenga. I appreciate your leadership. I know our next witness is tight on time, getting back to another hearing. So now I'd like to recognize Representative Beth Van Dyne, the gentlewoman from Texas. Ms. Van Dyne proudly represents the 24th Congressional District of Texas. She's on Ways and Means, our colleague on Ways and Means, and chair of the RSC's Budget and Spending Task Force, has done a lot of great work there, and really has been another outstanding voice in regards to fiscal issues and tackling our debt. So appreciate you being here.
I very much appreciate your time and those comments. Before I begin, I do want to take just a quick minute to thank Chairman Jody Arrington. I think Jody is a friend. You're a mentor, and honestly, he's the guy who keeps the rest of us sane in a lot of these budget conversations. And when we are losing our mind and doing backflips, I think you're the person who says, all right, keep calm, and here's how to fix it. And I, for one, want to thank you for your leadership and guidance in helping to draft a lot of this RSC budget. So I currently serve, as you mentioned, the Republican Study Committee's Budget and Spending Task Force. The RSC has long served as the conservative conscience of the House of Representatives. And as chair, I have prioritized a return to pre-pandemic spending levels and a balanced federal budget as soon as possible. Since January, the task force has been working with RSC members, with this committee, the White House, OMB Director Vaught, and a wide range of outside stakeholders to gather proposals aimed at addressing the nation's fiscal challenges. In recent years, federal spending and regulatory activity have grown significantly, and unfortunately, the extreme spending of the Biden administration has further worsened the national debt and long-term fiscal pressures. In addition to adding $1.8 trillion new regulatory burdens on our businesses, the Biden White House ushered in an era of unsustained debt that we now must confront. The task force has worked diligently to identify options to bring spending back in line while championing the policies of the Working Families Tax Cut Act. Addressing the national debt requires difficult decisions, as we just heard, but we believe reasonable, achievable steps, and many of which are outlined in the RSC's annual budget. The budget is built around a simple but essential principle that Washington must live within its means. For far too long, federal spending has grown faster than the economy, faster than federal family incomes, and faster than anything that the taxpayers who fund this government can reasonably sustain. Every year we delay course correction. The mountain gets steeper and the consequences get more severe. And that's why our budget provides a clear, credible path back to balance, one that is rooted in conservative principles and fiscal reality. And because balancing the budget isn't just a policy goal, it is a moral responsibility. Every dollar we borrow today is a dollar our kids and our grandkids will be forced to repay with interest, and they didn't make these decisions. But if we do not act, they're going to inherit those consequences. So our budget reins in out-of-control spending. It restores discipline to the appropriations process. It slows the autopilot growth of mandatory programs. It targets waste, duplication, and mission creep, and across the entire federal government. And it doesn't stop there. It advances pro-growth tax policy, it reduces regulatory burdens, and unleashes American energy. And because balancing the budget isn't just about cutting the federal checkbook, it's about strengthening the economy so that families can thrive. Ultimately, the RSC budget is a roadmap designed to protect the next generation, to ensure that they inherit opportunity and not overwhelming debt, that they get to have growth and not stagnation, and they have freedom and not a future bound by Washington's irresponsible choices. So I look forward to working with this committee on advancing many of the proposals of the RSC budget, and I yield back my time.
Thank you, Ms. Van Dyne. I appreciate you coming to talk about the RSC budget. I know it really is a great fiscal blueprint to get to a balanced budget, and so we look forward to incorporating a piece or talking with, enacting pieces of the budget or the budget in its entirety would be great as well. But thank you. I know you are in a hurry to get back to Ways and Means
Got our
hearing.
tax
So,
subcommittee right now, talking
yeah.
about international tax policy.
Yes,
so
yes. So thank you so much for taking your time to be here. We appreciate it.
thank you very much.
All right, I'd now like to recognize Representative David Schweikert, the gentleman from Arizona who came from the same hearing, I believe. Of course, we all know David is a proud fiscal hawk, has been talking about these issues for a long, long time. He serves on the Ways and Means Committee and is chairman, doing great work as chairman of the Bicameral Joint Economic Committee as well. I've appreciated your work there. So thank you for being here.
Okay, and Mr. Chairman and Jody, I want you to hear one sentence. My request is actually a fairly simple one of the Budget Committee. I'd actually like you to use as much real math in your projections. I have a handful of PhD economists over the Joint Economic Committee. And we've gone around and around over the last few years. So some of this predates almost anyone in this room, where we have laid out what we see happening. And our great sin is we don't tell the truth. What drives U.S. sovereign debt? You know, I want to blame the Democrats want to blame me. It's interest and demographics. We functionally have the same number of 18-year-olds today as we had 20 years ago. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to actually submit this for your records, but particularly for anyone, your PhDs in economics, because I'm sure you have some, in statistical analysis and budget, to understand the scale of what's going on. And my proof of concept is very simple. Go back to the beginning of this calendar year, and the numbers that you and I, we all went around and around and around on. Where are we at? Okay, moment of honesty. So we're what, 72, 73 days into this fiscal year. From October 1st till just before Christmas, we're gonna borrow another $1 trillion. So far this fiscal year, now look, there's timing effects, there's the bubble, there's when certain tax receipts come in. But the fact of the matter is, even annualized, we're over $71,000 a second in borrowing. This fiscal year, we're like $148,000 a second borrowing. And the left wants to say it's tax cuts. We want to say it's excessive spending. It's everything. Simple, basic math. If you add up, and I've done floor speech after presentation after floor speech, add up every scored tax hike the left has offered, you get 1.5% of GDP. Almost every cut you and I have advocated for, I get about 1% of GDP. We got ourselves a big 2.5. We tell the truth for the internal borrowing, because we've got to pay back the internal borrowing with interest. We borrowed almost 7.2, 7.3% of the entire GDP last year. So if I 7 here, and the left and the right's total solutions only coming in at 2.5, you now have a government that is an insurance company with an army. We're actually working on a data set right now that says the liabilities and unfunded liabilities of the United States exceed all wages for the future, all wages. In 7 years, the Medicare Trust Fund is empty. In 7 years, the Social Security Trust Fund is empty. If you intend to take that out of the general fund, as some of our colleagues on the left, okay, we calculate that as first year, so 2033, $630 billion, so functionally 60% of the entire defense budget. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It's demographics. It makes it very hard for those of us who come to you, go on the floor, go to our own committees, and say, there's revolutions in technology. We've tried to provide that there's optimism. If obesity, and I'm just gonna do this one because it's easy, but there's dozens of these, is we've calculated as 9.1 trillion additional healthcare costs over 10 years. 9.1 trillion, so functionally the entire defense budget. And remember, defense now is number 5 in spending. It's not number 1, it's number 5 in spending. What the president did last week on access to glue tights and those things, we're actually sort of modeling what would its economic impacts be. I beg of you, no more 1990s sounding solutions coming from the left or the right. Synthetic biology, AI, robotics, tax code, regulatory codes, removing the barriers of innovation. So many of the things that would crash the price of healthcare are illegal because we put up barriers to the very technology that would provide access, make things cheaper, healthier. I know it, forgive my language, pisses off the army of lobbyists outside this door. Maybe time we tell the truth about the math and also the fact there's a way to make it work. We don't have much more time. I know I'm against but in 8 years, 9 years, 30% of all US tax receipts is just interest. If interest rates go up 1%, 45% of all US tax receipts in 9 years are interest. This year, for every dollar we take in, we're gonna spend $1.43. Every solution you're gonna hear here is based on math that I believe is not truthful, and we're not being bold enough. With that,
Thank you, Mr. Schweikert. That's very stark reality that you're describing, and appreciate you being a voice on this. We must address it, and it is a math problem, clearly. And without objection, we will enter your submission into the record. So thank you so much for being here. All right, now recognize Representative Zach Nunn, a gentleman from Iowa. Mr. Nunn is a proud veteran of the United States Air Force and a member of the House Financial Services Committee, Ag Committee, and Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party. We appreciate you taking your time to be with us today. And you have 3 minutes, give or take.
Very good. Hey, first of all, to the Vice Chairman, to the Chairman, to the bipartisan nature of this budget hearing, thank you very much for having the opportunity to really listen to some of the recommendations and solutions coming from not only frontline members, but from members who have experienced this both at the state legislature and candidly in our own budgeting process with our own families. These are the kind of recommendations that are not only common sense, they're important for us across the board. I hear consistently about the good work that this committee has done back in my home district when it comes to things like passing legislation that provides for no tax on tips for frontline workers, no tax on overtime for my first responders, no tax on Social Security for my seniors. The accomplishments here are putting real money back in working families' pockets, and that is the #1 way that we grow our economy. We've proven it in Iowa, and it's now a playbook for the rest of the country. Today, I want to discuss something, though, that's also very important to folks back in Iowa, our spending challenges. And DC, by far, is one of the worst at making sure that we balance our budgets. In my home state, we take a common sense approach when it comes to funding. It's the same thing that farmers do, Main Street businesses do, and families do. It means you live within your means. And when you work hard, you earn a paycheck, you make sure that you're not spending beyond that and putting yourself in a real dangerous position. Most recently, we had a challenge with a foolish partisan shutdown, and it hurt families in my district. And one of those families reached out to me. Dr. Sarah Massey is an OBGYN. She's a great mom of 3. She lives in central Iowa. And she knows about taking care of both families and also timely responses for critical emergencies. And so tragically this year, when Sarah lost her husband, she did what any good mother would do. She reached out for her Social Security survivor's benefits. Not only help take care of her 3 kiddos, but make sure that she had the opportunity to be sustaining going forward and to receive the money that she'd paid into Social Security. But instead of being able to receive the benefits that she had paid into, she was met with delay, red tape, no answers, and her family suffered for 43 days. When she reached out to my office, we were able to open a door and help her family out. But it shouldn't have to be like this. I can't help but ask the question, not just for Sarah, but for people across Iowa, what happens when there are no resources left in Social Security because of the spending habits of DC? America now is set on a path of a $38 trillion debt. If Congress continues on this path, Social Security will run out by 2032, leaving benefits for over 500,000 Iowans without their full retirement or their survivor benefits that they've paid into. Back home, families like Sarah's budget every dollar. They make it through tough days, and they answer the tough calls by staying and living within their means. Our state government reflects that hard work and ingenuity. In Iowa, we turned a deficit of $2 billion surplus by balancing the budget and letting taxpayers keep more of what they earned. And I believe it's time that Washington start doing the same. Iowans demonstrate what's possible. Hard work, common sense, and living within our means is the best way not only to help keep government in check, but grow our economy. Challengingly, I think we all saw over the last 4 years, an administration that was spend happy. In fact, flushing money and taxpayer dollars to the extreme into their own programs. They lived well beyond their means and significantly added to our national debt. I believe it's well past time that we restore sensible, functional government for a people, not just across America, but in communities like mine in Iowa, to be able to keep more of their hard-earned money. Thus, Mr. Chair, in my very first week of Congress, I introduced a constitutional amendment that would require a balanced budget. It would prohibit total outlays for fiscal years exceeding the total receipts unless Congress authorizes an excess of them by 3/5 majority for those emergency situations. This resolution would also require the president to submit a balanced budget, not just a Republican or a Democrat, but all presidents, not one bloated with partisan wish list items. Washington sacrifices the livelihoods of our children and our grandchildren, our national security, and our future when they put these partisan claims in here. The last time the U.S. reached this level of indebtedness came after World War II. Congress took decades to reverse that trajectory, but through persistent commitment to deficit reduction, the U.S. was able to emerge as the leader of the free world. Today, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have the opportunity to summon the same fortitude that our colleagues in the 1940s did and possess and maintain America's leadership position on the global stage by balancing our budget. This resolution offers a simple way to restore good governance and public policy, and I believe that members on both sides of this committee can fully support our constituents' future and restore Washington's financial sanity. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I yield back my time.
Thank you, Mr. Nunn. Great points. It sounds like Washington has a lot we could learn from Iowa. I thought in Pennsylvania the budget process was broken until I came here, but at least at the end of the budget process, it was always a balanced budget. Like projected revenues would match expenditures that were appropriated, and so we need to get there. Appreciate your interest in this, and appreciate you being here with us today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If families, businesses, and states can do this, I think the federal government's up to the task too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to now recognize Representative William Timmons, the gentleman from South Carolina. Mr. Timmons is a member of the House Committee on Financial Services and the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. He also currently serves as a JAG officer and captain in the South Carolina Air National Guard. We appreciate you being with us. You may begin.
Good morning, Vice Chairman, Mr. Chairman. It's great to be with you today. This is an issue that is very important to me. When I first announced that I was going to run for Congress in 2018, one of my top issues was fiscal reform in Washington. And I would tell people that when Admiral Mike Mullen in 2010 was testifying before Congress, he was asked, what is the greatest national security threat to the future of our country? And at that time, we had $9 trillion in debt. We had $9 trillion in debt, 68% debt to GDP ratio. And his answer was Congress's inability to spend within its means. Fast forward to 2018, we have $22 trillion in debt, approximately 78% of our debt to GDP ratio. And here we are, 2025, and we're at 119% debt to GDP ratio and over $38 trillion in debt. We are on an unsustainable spending spree, and this is not a partisan issue. This is whether we're going to have a country. We've already been downgraded multiple times, and our word as a country is only as good as our ability to deliver on it. And if we have unsustainable spending, we can't deliver on it. We're going to lose our position in the global community. We're going to lose our ability to do all the good that we have done. We must do something about this. and time is of the essence. In addition to our debt, we also have Social Security failing in 6, 7 years. I keep changing the date. The thought of every American that is currently relying on Social Security getting a 20% reduction in their benefits is just completely, it would be the apocalypse. So we need to act. We need to act now. I have come to the conclusion that the only path forward, since Congress is not very good at doing things, is the Fiscal Commission. And I appreciate y'all passing that out of committee in a bipartisan vote last Congress. I would hope that we can do that again soon. I realize that there's political components to all of this, and it was frustrating for me on the campaign trail to see all the political, all the candidates said that they weren't going to touch Social Security, which is a lie. It's just a lie. If you don't touch Social Security, it's touching it. So we have to act. We have to save Social Security. We got to get 12 people together to figure out a path forward, and we got to pass the Fiscal Commission. We got to give them the opportunity to put us on a more sustainable fiscal path, and we have to do it as soon as possible because it gets harder and harder to do it the longer we wait. Mr. Chairman, I hate that you're not going to be in this fight with us, but I hope that you are going to continue to push for the remainder of this Congress, and then from the outside, we must get this done. Our next generation depends on it, and it is completely, it's just unacceptable that we do not take the necessary steps. So I appreciate y'all letting me speak today, and with that, I yield back.
Thank you, and certainly appreciate your voice. You've been talking about a fiscal commission for a long time. The chairman's leadership, as you mentioned, we passed it out of committee. I think the plan is to pass it again in this session, and hopefully it goes to the floor. I think it's one of the most important things we could do, and Mr. Huizenga was in earlier as one of the witnesses as well, talking about the need to do this. And so, again, appreciate your leadership. I recognize the chairman.
Mr. Chairman, let me say, Representative Timmons has been a leading voice on this. I'm a sucker for courage. I'm just a sucker for it. I'm a sucker for it on either side of the aisle, quite frankly, even if I'm in disagreement. What I know to be true after 10 years of being here, as I reflect on the 10 years and as I look forward to going home, we know how to solve the problems facing our country. What we lack is the courage to speak out about them and to work together to solve them. And you have spoken out, and you're talking about things that nobody even wants to mention for fear of the political attacks that will accrue as a result of those statements. But you know the math is real, and you know the consequences are catastrophic, and you can do no other because your conscience has lit you up in your soul, and you're going to continue to speak the truth, and you're going to continue to stand and fight and work with anyone and everyone who's willing to come to the table. And I just love that, respect it, and pray for more to join you. Thank you for your leadership.
You're very kind, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for letting me
Thank
speak.
you for being here. I'd like to now recognize Representative Michael Cloud, the gentleman from Texas. Mr. Cloud proudly serves Texas 27th Congressional District, is a member of the House Appropriations Committee and the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, and we appreciate you being here. You may proceed. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's good to be here, and also address the chairman over here, my colleague from Texas. I think this committee needs to pass a resolution saying you can't quit or something. You know, we're a little upset you're leaving us to continue to fight the battle, but certainly appreciate the voice of clarity. And I'll also say the voice of courage you've been in swimming upstream on the headwinds that try to keep the status quo in this place. It goes for you too, Vice Chair. Appreciate the work that y'all are doing. I wanted today to talk about the issue of our national debt and our spending. This has been mentioned a number of times today. Of course, a tremendous national security issue. It's also, as we try to address affordability and inflation and all those different kind of things, it's a huge driver of those issues as well. And at a cost of $1 trillion a year, our debt servicing is the third largest share of our national deficit every year, second only to Social Security and Medicare. So this is pretty significant, and of course, our debt servicing serves no value to the taxpayer. It's dollars that don't go to any sort of help or program or anything, and so, when we're looking for areas to find savings for the American people and to bring fiscal sanity to what's going on, and it's unconscionable, really, that we continue to borrow from the generations that are coming after us. That's just immoral to try to meet the needs of today on the backs of our kids and our grandkids. And so this is an issue that needs to be addressed, and this is one of the reasons why the very first bill I introduced in Congress was the Cost Estimates Improvement Act back in 2018. The Cost Estimates Improvement Act would require the Congressional Budget Office to incorporate interest costs when scoring bills. And so, like anyone who's bought a car or a house, you realize that the sticker price isn't the real price. There's a monthly fee that comes along with that, and you're paying interest. And sometimes in the case of housing, you might end up paying more in interest costs, actually, than the sticker price, depending on how you structure that loan. Well, we don't even count the cost of interest when we're weighing the legislation that comes before our body. And it would behoove us, it's so important for us to be counting the cost of that because it is such a major driver of our deficit. And so thankfully this committee passed our bill out of committee, so I want to thank you for the work on that in a bipartisan fashion. Really, this is not a partisan issue, and so this should be an easy fix. When it came to Congress in 2018, this is one of those things that you think will be an easy fix, and it's surprising that it's taken 5-6 years now. We're still working on trying to get such an easy thing fixed, like getting the Congressional Budget Office to do something that they should be doing without even being asked. And that's to count the cost of interest. So I just ask this committee to take it up again, and let's do what we can to get it out of committee again this term, as y'all did last session, and get this to the House floor and get it passed. I certainly would appreciate it, and it would just do great service for us as a Congress trying to work on behalf of the American people. I also do want to share the concern to the Budget Committee on the need for increased transparency with the CBO. I appreciate the efforts of the CBO recently as we work through reconciliation and the like to try to bring some transparency to the process, but I do think it's important for us to codify that. I know Representative Warren Davidson has a CBO Show Your Act bill that I think would be very important for them to show and to publish the models, the data, the assumptions that it's using when scoring legislation. It's important that their scores be peer reviewed and that be public, because as we know, many of their estimates have been off by wide margins. Their scoring of the Inflation Reduction Act, for example, failed to account for trillions of dollars in Green New Deal spending. I think it was estimated initially to be a $238 billion savings, and Wall Street came out and said, no, it's actually going to cost over $1 trillion, and then that continued to grow the longer it went on until we kind of put a stop to it in our reconciliation bill. And so it's important we deal with that. At the same time, the Health Division has been partisan. There's no Republicans in the Health Division, so their scores, certainly as we address the healthcare needs, need to be addressed. And I just realized I'm way over my time, so I apologize, and I will be quiet now and yield back to the chairman. Thank you for your indulgence. I'm sorry.
No, thank you, Mr. Cloud. We've been given some extra time, so you're perfectly fine. I think your first bill, the Cost Estimates Improvement Act, did, as you know, pass last session. I think it was just told it was a 17-7 vote, so it was a bipartisan bill.
Yeah.
I think it's a great bill, and I think the plan is potentially to bring that bill up for vote again this session, and hopefully we can get it to the floor and get it passed in the House. And then the chairman has been leading the way in holding CBO accountable,
Yes.
Asking them for more transparency, asking them for an audit, and so I think he'll view that bill pretty favorably as well. I don't know. I don't want to put words in his mouth,
100%.
but thank you for being here.
Mr. Chairman, just for my colleagues, Mr. Edwards and Mr. Moore, and for their edification as well, when we pass 14 bipartisan bills out of this committee, which has never happened in 50 years, 2 became law, Again, unprecedented. But don't think that just because they haven't become law that people aren't receiving the message that we're sending. CBO has been objectively acknowledged and affirmed for showing more of their models now. Right. They know that we expect that, and whether we pass legislation or not, that message has been sent and received. They have changed some of their panels and panel members in healthcare specifically. Now, I'm not saying it's all fixed and it's all good and we can all, just, go home thinking it's been done, but it's making a difference. We're getting better information. We're getting the cost of interest as part of the overall cost. So the work here is to make it the law, so there's no question it's going to happen, but it's to continue to persist in sending the message of what the American people deserve and what their customers, CBO's customers, which is you, and every member, Republican or Democrat, expect from them. Thank you for your leadership.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Scott, for being here. I'd like to now recognize Representative Aaron Bean, gentleman from Florida. Mr. Bean is a banker, a former member of the Florida legislature, and currently serves, of course, on the House Ways and Means Committee, and as well has been an outspoken voice in regards to the debt and finding ways to reduce our out-of-control spending. So thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. And a very good morning, Budget Committee. It's great to be with you. Thank you for this opportunity. What if we had a time machine? We had a time machine and we could go back to April of 1912 to the bridge of the Titanic. How would that go? I would imagine the conversation would go like this: Captain, we need to change course. There is an iceberg right ahead and it could lead to disaster. I would imagine the captain would say, I don't think so. We've got 2 spotters up there to make sure that we're on a safe course. And by the way, this ship is unsinkable. That's what he would say. We know how that ended. But you look at the spending course that the United States is on, not only can we see the iceberg right ahead, we're not changing course. We are just pulling back the accelerator. Let me give you a fact that this morning that I had to triple check just to make sure it's correct. We all know it's $38 trillion, our national debt right now. It is 7 times what it was the start of this century. Our Social Security and Medicaid systems are quickly approaching insolvency without changes. And thanks to what Einstein called the 8th wonder of the world, compound interest, we're now spending more on our debt, the interest on our debt, than what we spend on Medicare and national defense. 2 things has to happen, I believe, in order for us to get a safer course. One, to get back to pre-pandemic spending levels. I'm preaching to the choir. The members that are here today are on that team. COVID, we upped it during COVID, but yet COVID is over. But COVID left us, but yet those still high spending levels are still with us. We also have to address the largest driver of our spending. It's healthcare. We spend more than any other civilized country by a multiple, yet we get mediocre results right now. We've got to change something different. In 2010, when Obama signed the Affordable Care Act, he promised lower costs, but yet here we are, that premium has had an increase of 78% in just 15 years, doubling the rate of inflation. So as the conversation starts on healthcare, what to do, the answer can't be, let's just spend more money. All that gets us is more inflation and higher costs. As we go forward, I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman Arrington. You've been a warrior. You've been a warrior. You're the one that's been on the steps of the Capitol screaming, iceberg right ahead. And West Texas is not only going to miss you, but this body and this country is going to miss your leadership. So members, as the new year approaches, we got a new year, let's all resolve to turn this ship around. I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bean. Couldn't have said it better. That's an excellent visual, and I know you've been speaking about this for a long time. It occurs to me, Mr. Chairman, that there's a large group within this body. Everybody's coming here talking about the debt. Like we can get this done. So thank you for being here.
Have a great day. Go get them.
All right, I'd like to now recognize Representative Rich McCormick, gentleman from Georgia. Dr. McCormick is a veteran and emergency medicine physician and a proud member of the House Armed Services, Foreign Affairs, and Science, Space, and Technology Committee. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's interesting to hear person after person come up here and talk about the debt. We all know we have $38 trillion in debt. We all know that that's a problem. Choir, preacher, that's kind of how you have a lineup of preachers today talking about different ideas. Everybody wants to fix Social Security. We know it's going to go and solve it, but we'll wait till last minute, almost certainly, because otherwise we get vilified. Whoever's in charge and tries to fix this will be vilified as trying to cut off. We're not going to let it go bankrupt. We're going to shore it up, and it's going to go push us in more massive debt. Same thing with Medicaid. We can't make even subtle common sense cuts to Medicaid or make it accountable because, of course, we're the bad guys by cutting off millions of people who could actually be doing something better in their life. But we're vilified for that. Same thing with Medicare. We despite our best efforts, all of our considerations to do the right thing have always been thwarted by people who want to buy votes with other people's money. But I have a great idea that I think can be bipartisan, and that's common sense, where people have control of their own destiny, even inside of the federal bureaucracy, which I think everybody can get behind. I think everybody here is a potential co-sponsor. And this is the Incentivized Savings Act. This is something that was a brainchild of 30 years ago when I was in the military as a logistics officer for my squadron. I got to the end of my fiscal year, and just like everybody else, I save about 10% of my budget for emergency funding. And then at the end of the year, if I don't spend that, I'm penalized. Every bureaucracy in America right now, if you don't spend your budget, what happens? You lose that money. It goes, somebody else spends it anyways. And then next year, you're probably going to get a smaller budget because you obviously didn't need your budget. So everybody's trained. Every federal bureaucracy in America is trained to spend every dollar they have so they don't reduce their budget the next year. How ludicrous is that? Any business who did that, that CFO would be fired. That business would go bankrupt. And yet, that's our standard of government spending. The Incentivized Savings Act turns that on its head. When I brought it up to the speaker, his first reaction was, that sounds too good to be true. His next reaction was, why haven't we done this before? Then his next reaction was, go run that by Cole and the Cardinals and see if it's even doable. When they said yes, I knew we were onto something. I brought up with Mr. Arrington. I know you're a true fiscal conservative. I know both of you. And by the way, these are all my friends here in this room. And this is something where you get to self-govern, where you have a government agency, when you get to the end of the fiscal year and you say, gosh, I have money left over, instead of being incentivized through a stick, being punished for not spending your money, you actually get rewarded. It's simply put, 49% of the money that you don't spend goes to next year's budget. You actually get a bigger budget. You're rewarded by getting a bigger budget next year. 49% goes back to debt and deficit. But nobody can criticize you because you're in charge of your own department. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. I'm not going to punish you, but I'm going to incentivize you to do it, to save the American public some money and also increase your budget next year so you can get that line item you couldn't afford this year. 2 carrots, and if that's not good enough, we're going to swing it up a little bit more. We're going to give you 2% left over as bonuses, retention bonuses to that department up to 10% of your salary. So now 3 carrots to do the right thing instead of 2 sticks to do the wrong thing. You're in control of your own destiny. Nobody can vilify you for this. It's a built-in Doge inside each department. Instead of having Doge come and say, I'm going to cut your department, and I'm going to tell you how, you get to determine what's most efficient for your department and what's efficient for the next year's budget without penalization. It's incentivization, control, and it can redefine the way we spend money in government and right-size government permanently. I think it's a brilliant strategy. I ask for your support. I ask for your co-sponsorship. I want to get this bill passed before we lose this opportunity, because once we're gone, so is the idea.
Well, thank you, Mr. McCormick. It sounds like a really interesting idea. I personally haven't spent a lot of time looking at that, but I certainly will, because, I mean, we all know the budget process is broken. We need to look at reforms of that process, and this sounds like a really interesting idea, so we appreciate you sharing it with us.
Mr. Chairman, how can you not get excited? I mean, think about it, Chuck. These guys are coming from all over our conference, various committees, various parts of the country. We're going to save our country. And we're going to do it with the people that have graced the witness table today and the people who've showed up here, by the way, all Republicans. We're going to need our Democrat colleagues. The budget process is just a set of incentives. And as Peter Drucker, the father of the science of management, said, incentives drive behavior. If you cannot do a budget and not pay for it, that means meaning no consequence, guess what? We'll take the easy path of least resistance. But if you say no budget, no recess, can't go home, I bet you we get a budget done. We talked about unauthorized spending. That's not an appropriator issue, that's an authorizer issue. What if you started losing authorization resources for your programs if you didn't authorize before they funded it? And what if we actually had incentives to not spend it so they didn't fear losing it at the bureaucracy, but we incentivize savings? Man, just getting incentives right, I think, would right the ship, clean this place up, and set us on the right track. Thank you so much, Dr. McCormick, for your leadership.
And thank you for your service and your fiscal conservatism. I will say this, too. I'll end with Elon quote. The first time I ever met him, he was asked, what's your next big idea? He said, I got a million ideas. I can't go to bed at night because I have so many ideas. But the question is not what my next big idea is, but what can I actually execute? What can I finish? This is something that we can finish. This is not a partisan issue. And this is not pushing grandma off the cliff. This is self-determination, and it's something hard to vilify. We can pass this bill.
Yeah. Great. Good work. Thank you for being here. All right, now recognize Representative Nathaniel Moran, gentleman from Texas. Mr. Moran is a former county judge, but, okay, this was written for Chairman Arrington. He too is a Texas Tech Red Raider. I don't know that I can say that.
You could have started with that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you to the Budget Committee for holding this important Member Day hearing, and thanks to all my Republican colleagues for their great ideas, and for the Budget Committee's hardline stance in making sure that we remain fiscally responsible. Thank you to Chairman Arrington for his leadership. You're going to be deeply missed. When I first came to Congress, I recognized a hard truth. Our runaway spending stands among the greatest threats to the economic freedom of the American people. The debt then was about $33 trillion. Now it's far higher. Our nation now carries a bloated national debt of $38 trillion and growing, a burden that grows much larger every day, and we know is going to impact our kids and our grandkids. A soaring national debt weakens the American economy and jeopardizes the security of this nation. It fuels inflation, pushes interest rates higher, and places a real and increasing growing burden on hardworking Americans now and in the future. I know each one of you that are sitting here today know that. Our country's prosperity relies heavily on our ability to grow and innovate. But those strengths can only be unlocked when our fiscal house is firmly in order. And the blame cannot be laid, by the way, at the feet of any one party. All points along this political spectrum and both major parties bear responsibility for where we stand today. We both have spent way beyond our means. As a result of the fiscal crisis we have allowed to take shape, I introduced the Principles-Based Balanced Budget Amendment during the 118th Congress, and I've reintroduced it again during the 119th Congress as House Joint Resolution 110. This proposed constitutional amendment, which is written in a way that is meant to be comprehensible, practicable, possible, and meaningful, will allow Congress to affirm the principles of maintaining a balanced budget without overriding any of its policymaking power year to year. The text of this amendment and the core principle reads simply as follows. Expenditures and receipts shall be balanced, which may occur over more than 1 year. Now that seems common sense to most Americans. Families balance their budget. Businesses balance their budget. Cities and counties balance their budget. How come the federal government can't balance their budget? My constitutional amendment proposal also gives Congress the practical time that it needs from passage to get to an initial balanced budget. It recognizes that we've dug ourselves a pretty good hole. It's going to take time to get out of it. It also allows for emergency spending with 2/3 approval from both chambers, and I think that's important to recognize the need for future Congresses to have some flexibility when there is indeed an emergency. The full text of this PBBA is only 2 paragraphs long, so as to allow flexibility for each Congress to decide how to balance the budget, whether it's structural or biennial, and to give Congress discretion to change the design of the implementing legislation while staying true to the end result of a balanced budget. This BBA would serve as a foundation for Congress to implement detailed legislation that meets the moment as those moments and circumstances change over time. For the better part of 2 decades, Washington has amassed a bill that future generations cannot afford to pay. And the result is unmistakable. Families and businesses are being squeezed by crippling inflation and interest rates that continue to climb, and our debt now has become a greater burden on our current annual appropriations, current annual expenditures than even our Defense Department. And the result is, it is important to note that the importance of this committee and its role in providing Congress with information regarding federal spending, revenue, deficits, and debt, which should shape how Congress appropriates its money. Thank you for doing that so eloquently over the past couple of years. We have to recommit the basic shared truth by every household and every business across this nation that lasting prosperity requires living within our means. That starts with a balanced budget and restored fiscal responsibility. It's not too late to restore that fiscal sanity, as the chairman has said many times. Yet the seriousness of this self-inflicted wound calls for bold, principled action, and that's what my principles-based balanced budget amendment meets in this moment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Moran. Appreciate you being here. And I think a balanced budget amendment would be one of the most important things we could do, or some sort of fiscal debt break, whatever it may be, whatever we could agree upon. But, you know, we talked earlier today, someone who was here talked about Iowa's budgeting, and I'm from Pennsylvania. Going through the process there, it was a tough process at times. It was delayed. But at the end of the day, there was a requirement, I don't know how many states have a balanced budget amendment, but many of them do. And there's a requirement that expected expenditures or expenditures will match expected revenues. It would be one of the most important changes. And the way you've designed it to achieve that over a period of time, because we know it can't be done all at once, but like if we just take incremental steps in the right direction, understand it's going to take a while to solve it, but if we take steps in the right direction, we can get there. It'll buy time. People will continue to have faith in U.S. treasuries, but we've got to do it now, and I think this will be an amazing change. So thank you so much. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, leave it to a Texan to take a very complicated and complex problem and to simplify it with, how about we just force Congress to do what everybody else in the world at every level of public and private office and standing has to do? Live within their means, balance a budget. Guns up. Thank you for your leadership, Mr. Moran.
Thank you. All right, now I'd like to recognize a member of this committee, Mr. Representative Josh Burkeen, gentleman from Oklahoma. Proudly serves Oklahoma's 2nd Congressional District and has been an absolutely outstanding member on this committee, an important voice in getting to fiscal responsibility. Also serves on the House Homeland Security Committee, so look forward to hearing you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I've got a committee vote about to take place. There was a word to the wise a few years ago I read, the more the words, the less the meaning. How does that benefit anyone? So I'm gonna make this quick to make it to my vote. I hope to do such a good job that Chairman Arrington gives me a Go Pokes salute when I get done, like he gave the Red Raider salute just a moment ago. Here's my challenge, Mr. Chairman. You're gonna ride off in the sunset with your cowboy boots on this next year. And Mr. Vice Chairman, we've done Reconciliation 1. In a discussion with the chairman of a very influential committee related to health care, I think there's some great optimism that we can do Reconciliation Part 2 on health care out of this committee. And so yes. let's aim for the moon in your last year. If we miss, we'll land among the stars. We've got muscle memory on doing reconciliation. Healthcare at 20% of our gross domestic product. We all know in terms of affordability, it is the big issue. This committee has the courage
to lock in. Those of you that are in leadership of this committee have the respect of the conference. We represent a wide group, and there's influence. And so let's use it. And so this last year, I don't want you to go out just talking about the working families tax cut. Before you get done this next year, let's do reconciliation part 2 on health care, because I think the 43-day government shutdown caused people to really understand we have an unaffordable problem. The Unaffordable Care Act cannot be compounded upon by more subsidization. We have to overhaul health care if we're going to give every family a chance to have lower health care costs. So giddy up, let's go. Go Pokes.
Mr. Burkeen, we're not going to let you out of the hot seat did the call votes? Well, that's his problem. He's, I'm the chairman. I can keep you here, can I? Don't I have a rule about that? Look, before I ride off in the sunset, I want to ride into the fight with a cowboy from Oklahoma. You are a true cowboy. Humble. Thanks, man. You put in the work. You know your stuff. You come here prepared, and you come ready to fight. Sometimes fighting means going against your own party and the political pressures not to work with our Democrat colleagues. Fighting looks different every day and at every turn and opportunity. But at every chance, you're there to fight in a very righteous way, in a way that honors and glorifies God.
Thank you.
And also reflects well on the people you serve. Reconciliation 2.0. I've got 2 of the strongest leaders on the issue of restoring fiscal responsibility in this country, and Blake Moore and Lloyd Smucker here, our colleagues. Why would we be given this historic and monumental opportunity from the American people with the most consequential tool of reconciliation and pass on it? If we can work with our colleagues, and I hate to say it, but I haven't had a single Democrat witness talk about the debt, the budget, how we make it more accountable, responsible. So it's just us. If we can work, and there are plenty of ways to work with our Democrat colleagues, and it's always better, in my opinion, to do it because it's more sustainable. If you can move the needle in the right direction, and if there's a willingness. But if there's not, because the political pressure just keeps mounting as we get closer to the midterm elections, then we have a sacred responsibility and trust to use everything at our disposal to right this ship and to set our country on a course for prosperity and sustainability. We did right on energy policy. We did some good on tax policy. We did some really good things to rein in spending and reform entitlements and put work incentives in. Healthcare is the biggest tax on our economy and our families. We have an incredible opportunity. I would include, we have some opportunity to lock in what President Trump has done with some of his trade deals too, so we can get the certainty into the economy and claim victory for some of the things he's done to bring countries to the table to have an even, fair, and reciprocal trade relationship for once. We have an incredible opportunity, and I think we have not hit our full stride, and we have not gone into that last gear yet. We do those things with the same unity and courage we did the first reconciliation, and I think we will have done right by this country and the people who put us up here. Amen?
Go Pokes.
With that, Mr. Moore, Mr. Smucker, any final comments?
Go Utes.
Mr. Smucker, thank you for presiding. God bless America. Go West Texas, and we're adjourned.